The reason Vidit is joining us today is because it's been an interesting story for the last couple of days, where his report by Spark actually sparked a very sharp rally amongst Tata Group stocks over the last few days. Of course, then the weekend came and there were reports that Tata Sons may not be looking at an IPO. All that has led to some of these Tata stocks declining anywhere in the range of 8 to 10%. But Vidit Shah of Spark joins us to help us understand what that report was, whether or not an IPO from Tata Sons is likely, and what can it mean for companies like Tata Chemicals. Vidit, morning. Thanks for joining us. Vidit, I think you single-handedly led to enough and more excitement around those Tata stocks, where everyone picked up on the report. The stocks have rallied. Tata Chemicals is up 40% all of last week. Some of the other Tata Group companies as well have done well on hopes of a Tata Sun IPO over the next 18 months. I want us to take a step back, and I want you to tell us what made you, put out the report? What led you to believe that an IPO from Tata Sons is likely at this stage? And also, do you still believe that, or do you think that is one of the scenarios that could play out for Tata Sons?
Hi. Firstly, thanks for having me, Samina. What led me to so there were a few reports that were published the week prior about the potential listing of Tata Sons in a year and a half's time, and deep diving digger, we noticed that there is a lot of value that one could ascribe to the Tata Sons group. So we ascribed about 8 lakh crore value to the group. And to answer your question whether the IPO is the only way out, no, it isn't. The RBI has classified it as one of several upper layer NBFCs, and it's classified as a coal investment company. The mandate is to list within 3 years of this identification, which was back in September 22. So that's one way out. The other way out would be to restructure its group holdings and debt for it to not be classified as an upper layer NBFC. So those are the two primary options available to the group as of now.
Vidit, then what do you think is the more likely scenario to play out at this stage?
Well, that's difficult to tell. The advantage of listing could be to give exits to the non-core shareholders or the non-trust related shareholders. But also, given that it's a conglomerate which makes several investments, and given its capital allocation that it keeps on doing, it could also potentially not want to list and have the freedom to allocate capital in a way that they can think is prudent.
Agree, and investors in the IPO are likely to give holding company discount of 30 to 60% while calculating the equity value, which is probably not what Tata Sons may want at this stage. But one of the big reasons that this Tata Sons IPO got so much of attention is because it led to a very sharp rally among some of its group companies, like Tata Chemicals that owns about 3% of Tata Sons. The simple math on that is 33,000 crores of market cap. They own about 20,000 crores of Tata Sons. Intrinsic value goes up much higher. Do you think the only way to unlock value on Tata Chemicals is by the list that the holding it has of Tata Sons is through listing of Tata Sons?
Yeah, so as the report says that the 8 lakh crore value that we ascribe to Tata Sons, 2.5% of that ascribes a 20,000 crore value to the investments that Tata Chemicals holds in Tata Sons, and that sort of comes to about 65% of today's market cap. That itself, lowers the intrinsic PE to a likely 11 to 12x of consensus street estimates. But the other companies that hold a stake in Tata Sons, or Tata Motors, Tata Power, and Indian Hotels, and the value of their investments to their overall market cap is about 6 to 10%. So yeah, I mean, Tata Chemicals is likely to be the biggest beneficiary of a potential listing if Tata Sons were to list.
You know, Vidit, you put out a very valid point on your report saying that cross-holding has usually been a concern for investors for a while now, and a simplified structure will enable Tata Sons to have better control over the promoter votes on shareholder resolutions as well. Now, we've seen what Chandra is doing. In the last couple of years, we've seen them simplify other group companies as well. So while there are enough reasons why Tata Sons may not consider an IPO, there is enough and more reason that this IPO, if not today, will become a reality eventually.
Well, eventually, it's difficult to say because as long as the group continues to make forays into new age technologies, there could be more and more capital that has to be allocated to this. So it's difficult to say when that eventuality will come, and the street may, given the uncertainty, may increase the holdco discount further if they don't see the IPO happening in the near term. So the near term creates a buzz. The near term IPO potential creates a buzz, but you could see the street increasing the holdco discount should the IPO be elongated.
Right. Vidit, I know you don't track Tata Chemicals specifically, but if this IPO doesn't go through, in fact, as that buzz has fizzled out this morning, you've seen some of these counters take it to the chin. Do you still feel like, I mean, it's a what-if case, I do understand that. What does an investor do with Tata Chemicals at this stage? Would you be able to have an opinion on that, or that looks unlikely? Because you are largely looking at it from a Tata Sons angle.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't have an opinion on Tata Chemicals because we don't cover it. But, I can tell you that the value of Tata Sons is a significant portion of its current market cap. However, the sector itself is also facing headwinds, as you would be aware as well. And the chemical industry has been under some pressure over the last year or so. And there is demand and realization pressures for Tata Chemicals based business.
So very lastly, there are some reports that are indicating that the Tata Sons, in order to avoid a skirt the IPO, may look at hiving off some of its businesses. They may move out the financials into Tata Capital, because that, I believe, also needs to be listed for the upper limit NBFC. Do you think those are the probable scenarios or outcomes that could be expected from Tata Sons?
That's true. So, like I said at the start, right, that it has a couple of options. One is to IPO, one is to restructure its group holdings and debt, and that is one way that they could do it, is via transferring some of its debt and holdings to Tata Capital. Only time will tell which route they choose to take, because we've been hearing contradictory reports as well. So time will tell, but should the company list, there is a lot of liquidity that is created for its group company investments.
But for now, very lastly with it, you're still holding tall that report, right? That still stands, because everything that we are playing out is assumptions, either made by newspaper agencies, television channels. Of course, what you have is data-backed reports that you're giving out.
Exactly. So the report is on the assumption that it lists, who the biggest beneficiaries could be. So that is likely to play out on the listing, if at all that was to happen. Yeah.
Right.